Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Newsroom Pub on this beautiful Monday afternoon. I'm Jim Nelson, past president of the Press Club from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, and I'm happy to be here today with Visit Milwaukee President and CEO, Peggy Williams-Smith. Welcome.
Thank you.
Peggy has more than 25 years in the hospitality and economic development industries. She's Visit's first female president and CEO, and she shepherded Milwaukee's tourism organization through the pandemic. The 2020 DNC, the Democratic National Convention that sort of wasn't, and the Milwaukee Bucks 2021 championship run, among many other high-profile events. Peggy also led the city's effort to get the successful bid to host the upcoming RNC. Now on the cusp of the RNC, which is going to be July 15th through 18th at Fiserv Forum, she'll be discussing Milwaukee's role in the city and the surrounding metro area. It's a really high-profile time for the city and a very important time for Visit Milwaukee, so it's really great we have her here today. Before we get started, I want to thank our event sponsors. The presenting sponsor is Spectrum News One. Our supporting sponsor is We Energies. And I'd also like to thank our event partner, WisPolitics.com. WisPolitics partners with the Press Club for this luncheon as part of its ongoing event series with We're also sponsored by UW-Milwaukee, the Wisconsin Academy of Global Education and Training, 1125 at Pabst, the Medical College of Wisconsin, the Commercial Association of Realtors, and Spectrum. Finally, I'd like to welcome our media panel from today's TMJ4, Susan Kim. Rich Kirchen from the Milwaukee Business Journal. And my colleague at the Journal Sentinel, Ricardo Torres. I'd also like to recognize the working media who are covering this event. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate your coverage. And now, Peggy Williams-Smith.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. I first want to start out, this is always a homecoming for me. For those of you who don't know, I started my career in hospitality downtown with Marcus Hotels and Resorts. And in 2015, Marcus Hotels and Resorts bought the Safe House from Dave and Shauna Baldwin, who were very good partners and friends of the Milwaukee Press Club. And I spent the next 3 years touring this place and telling people the magnificent stories of all of the names that are on the wall here and the incredible history the Press Club has with the Safe House and the Newsroom Pub here. We implemented a wall here that's still here. It's the Wall of Honor, and it tells the stories. It used to be a static piece of paper that changed every year, and it tells the stories not just of the deaths of the people who fought for our country, but it also tells their life story. So it's a really special place to be, and I'm really glad to be here with you today. So I want to thank the Milwaukee Press Club for inviting me and for the work you do to support and foster journalism in Milwaukee. It's absolutely vital to continuing to improve our community. I've never done this event before. Like I said, many times I've spent watching the event, refilling the food for the event, but never doing it. But I figured that you probably asked me to be here for something that's probably top of mind for everyone that's literally 19 days away from starting, which is the RNC. As many of you have heard me say, we were thrilled to work with then Mayor Barrett initially, then later current Mayor Johnson and County Executive Crowley to bid on and eventually win this convention. And we did it with the help of so many different people. I know Marty's here. Marty was instrumental in going with us to different places to make sure that as we were courting them, they understood how important this was to us. In a lot of cities, in Chicago, this is one of many events that they'll be hosting. For Milwaukee, this is the event that we're hosting, and we're going to make them feel incredibly special. The number one reason that we did this is we knew it would generate significant short and long-term economic impact. I can't begin to tell you how much this has created throughout the last 2 years since it was announced. We all know that we've had several presidential and vice presidential visits, and some of those would have happened, but not as many that have happened because of the fact that we're hosting the RNC. We know that this is going to generate nearly $200 million in economic impact. And that was something at the time, remember, this was September of 2021, that we badly needed because we were just starting to recover from the pandemic. And this figure includes both direct and indirect impact, with direct spending be what comes directly from our visitors who come in and hand a $10 bill to the bartender and leave a $2 tip on an $8 drink. But then it also includes, the spend at other local businesses, hotels, and it only reflects what we're going to see the week of the convention. Did you know, and I'm sure you did because you're journalists, that the RNC held their summer meetings here last year in conjunction with the debate? That's right, the week before the convention. And then this year, they're also hosting their summer meetings here. That would not be here if it weren't for the convention being hosted here. That's going to be 2,000 visitors in the city the week before the convention. And that doesn't even begin to tell you about the 15,000 credentialed journalists who will be here telling the stories of our city. And that's already begun. I've done interviews with C-SPAN, with Univision, with other different journalists who are already doing B-roll so that they have stories to tell during the convention that aren't specifically politically motivated. They're going to tell the story we're going to see the incredible skyline we have, the amazing Fiserv Forum and Deer District, and they're going to show off our brand new expanded and modernized Baird Center, and that alone is worth it. We knew this would be an essential type of event to really be able to elevate what the Baird Center is going to look like, and the great work that Marty and his team did, and the huge investment that we made in this expansion, and it's going to be on the world stage. On top of the immediate impact, there are more long-term effects. Meeting planners have already taken note of us hosting this event, and since we won the announcement in July of 2022, inbound leads to our sales team doubled from 21 to 22, 22 to 23. In Q1 of 24, we were still seeing 34% year-over-year leads. That, with hosting this event and the expansion, it's just the perfect storm of people being interested in coming to Milwaukee. And if anyone covered the news this weekend, I think we were the entertainment capital of the world. We had Kim Kardashian here. We had Ludacris performing an impromptu concert at 3rd Street Market Hall, Kenny Chesney. All of these amazing things that happened. I think the only place that had more celebrities was Wembley Stadium in London for Taylor Swift. To capitalize on the RNC's impact, our team has undertaken a wide array of projects. Claire, whom I hope you all know, is leading a communications group that has been meeting for the last 2 years, gathering story ideas and other resources for those 15,000 journalists. She's coordinating the media bags to give to them and also leading the charge on a Milwaukee information table in the filing center so that these visiting journalists can hope to feel like they know just a fraction of everything that's happening in this city. And she's also working with the city and our friends at the host committee to create a nearly 24/7 social media operation that will ensure anyone online that week has the info they need to have a great Milwaukee experience. And our events team has been helping coordinate beautifications around the city, and they're also leading the effort to staff welcome tables at some of the largest delegation and sponsor and donor hotels so that we can help ensure that those guests also have an incredible time. And our 200 plus volunteers are part of the Welcome Wagon too. They also connected RNC planners to event and venue locations throughout the region for their parties, their meetings, and all of that. Our team has conducted well in the upwards of hundreds of site tours showcasing all that Milwaukee has to offer. And we're also doing what we can to direct more businesses to our partners in hospitality. Of course, we helped with the initial contracting of hotels, but now we're coordinating lists of restaurant deals for first responders. We're working on a communication plan about restaurants and bars who are going to have expanded hours for the convention. We know that the convention floor will close sometime between 10 and 11, and these folks want to go out, they want to have a drink, they want to decompress. And then finally, we launched our Summer Savings Pass, which is for these visitors as well as locals to find deals at over 60 local businesses from now until Labor Day. Passes like those generate extra revenue for our partners, and the best part is that they're free for everyone involved, users and businesses alike. And on top of all of this, I think our team has made 1 million phone calls to help convention planners coordinate so many different aspects of this convention. I know that I have both the RNC and the COA on speed dial on my phone. We connect them with businesses all over the region, all while keeping in mind that we want our community to get the most out of this that they possibly can. So, in a city of many Democrats, why did we go after this convention that doesn't necessarily align politically with our local elected officials or communities' voting patterns? Because we know events like this generate tourism, and we genuinely know that tourism plays a key role in making Milwaukee better. In 2023, the total economic impact of tourism in Milwaukee County exceeded $4.1 billion. These are dollars that support over 27,000 jobs from Milwaukeeans from every corner of the county. And dollars like that help our local businesses expand into second locations or to open new concepts. They help our hotels complete renovations. And these dollars mean expanding entertainment opportunities for all of us, and all of those things that make Milwaukee stronger economically. I think it has to be said that tourism and unabashedly positive destination marketing have also played a role in delivering Milwaukee a little bit of its current swagger. I get to wake up every day and say that my team brought Top Chef here with the help of our partners, and that my team got National Geographic to love us so much that they named us one of the best places in the world to visit in 2023. Those kinds of wins are ones we can all share and have pride in, and I think examples like that have helped us as a community get beyond a level of humility that was honestly hurting us. We're a city that deserves to host major events, and not just political conventions. We deserve to host IndyCar at Milwaukee Mile, or the 4 best women's Division I volleyball teams this fall at Fiserv Forum over Labor Day weekend. We have the best public golf courses in the country, so we should expect to host events like the 80th U.S. Women's Open at Erin Hills next year, or the NCAA rounds 1 and 2 of Division I men's basketball at Fiserv Forum. And this weekend, the square dancers are coming to town. I mean, let's be real. You don't get any better than the square dancers. You don't win events like this if you can't stand up and say we have incredible assets. And the entire world should recognize that. Having said this, we often get asked about Milwaukee's challenges. And while I like to think, well, I don't like to. I know that we're Milwaukee's cheerleaders. That's my job, is to tell the good things that are happening here in Milwaukee and all the time. But those challenges aren't things that we shy away from either. From travel media to meeting planners, we are asked about some of these issues regularly, and we're asked about what Milwaukee is doing to improve conditions. But what we do is we connect them with the people who are doing the hard work to make the city better. We are asked if we can honestly call ourselves a city that is friendly to the LGBTQ community on a monthly basis. I also consider it our job to be cheerleaders of the Milwaukeeans and the organizations that are working to address the issues and hype them up, just like we hype up our hospitality partners. Even with our challenges, I hope you'll agree that there has never been a better time to tell your friends and your family and your colleagues that you're from Milwaukee, that you're from the place that not only hosted Top Chef, but it's where the season's finalist came from. That you're from the place where Giannis, and I'll butcher his last name, I always do, chose to put his roots down. That you're from a city where more theater seats per capita than any other city in the country. That you're from the city with the oldest continuously operating press club in North America. There's so much to be proud of when you talk about Milwaukee, and I'm grateful every day to be able to tell those stories. And while you as journalists may not be in the same business of promotion, your work shapes how people see our community on a national and international scale. And that is incredibly important work that should not be taken lightly. I know you don't take that responsibility lightly, and I'm tremendously grateful to know so many of you who highlight what needs fixing while also elevating those stories of the Milwaukeeans who are working hard to make our community better each and every day. Once again, I'm thankful to be here, and now I'm happy to start to take questions.
Well, Peggy, you've done so much. Thanks so much for being with us today. I will truly say Milwaukee is not the same city it was when I first got here in 1994. There's been a lot of really amazing changes. Talking about some of the media coverage, I want to take you back to the horrible city comment, or not comment. The presumptive nominee was quoted as saying Milwaukee is a horrible city. He denied it to us last week when he was in town here in Wisconsin. I'm curious whether he said that or not. That obviously is out there in the national conversation. What was your initial reaction when you heard about this quote from a member of the media? And then what is the impact that you're seeing as we head into the RNC?
My initial reaction was, oh shit. But then I reeled it back in. You know, We faced this with Stephen A. Smith. We faced this with Stephen Colbert. I just recently reposted something on my Facebook that I think was in response to Stephen Colbert's comments coming out of the DNC. Again, people don't understand until they get here how amazing we are. I think the amount of press that was generated from him saying that was amazing, right? We had people all over the country, Stephen Colbert, Jon Stewart. We had our county exec and our mayor on every national news outlet talking about how great Milwaukee is. And I think that that just shows that you don't mess with us. We are people who are very proud, even though we're not braggadocious and we don't shout as much as we need to. When someone comes at us, we're going to come right back at you with the facts. And the facts are that we are amazing and we are working hard every day to be better. And I think that's what's important.
I won't mess with you either, so let's see. When you talk about the economic impact, direct and indirect, is there going to be, I know there was a study, for example, after the Cleveland RNC. Is anyone going to be following up on this? I mean, we can measure, for example, the hotel room tax that's collected and goes to the Wisconsin Center District. But, I mean, what are you going to be looking for? And what are the building blocks besides hotels and restaurants?
Well, there's event venues. There's absolutely everything. So 50 people have been living in our city from the COA, the Committee on Arrangement, for over 18 months. They're paying rent. They're eating dinner out in our restaurants. They're going to our event venues. They're going to see concerts. They're going to see the performing arts. They're doing everything someone would live here. And that we're going to try to capture. So yes, we are working with both the COA and the host committee. Every time they do an economic impact study, we're going to work with them on that so that we can make sure we showcase everything that this convention brought to the city, not just during that week of the convention, but leading up to it since the city was announced as the host.
And when you said 4.1 billion tourism impact on, was that Milwaukee County or Metro?
Milwaukee County.
Milwaukee County.
Yeah, the number for the 4-county area is much larger.
So if you add the 200 million on top of that, does that mean we'll be at 4.3?
Well, that was 2023.
That was 23.
So we have not started measuring 2024 at this point. We won't get those numbers. Unfortunately, a lot goes into that. So we typically get them in end of May, beginning of June of the following year. We'll have an economic impact study before that comes out with exactly what the RNC did.
To go back to the horrible comment, to the horrible city comment, it's one thing to respond when Donald Trump or Stephen A. Smith says something of that. I think a lot of Milwaukee residents would say that they hear similar things from just other Wisconsinites. And so how do you change the city's reputation just within this own state?
Well, I think we've started to see that happen. I agree with you. I mean, when I started on panels back when I was with Marcus, every time I was on a panel, we would only talk about the negative things. And when I took this job, I said to myself, someone needs to always talk about the good. That makes everyone understand everything we're doing, working together to make things better. We're always going to have haters. This is the way of the world right now. The world is a different place than it was 20 years ago. So you're going to have people on opposite extremes of everything in any city you go to. But I think as long as we continue to tell the good, that we'll start to see some of those perceptions change and talk about some of them. Some of them will never change, and we have to be okay with that.
I'm curious more to go back to the economic impact of the RNC numbers we've been throwing around, like 50,000 visitors expected. But you also hear from businesses who are saying that they're not really seeing anything. They haven't heard from anybody. Is this a matter of kind of things really getting into gear these last couple of weeks? Or is the response and what the expectation might be not perhaps matching that number of 50,000 and the billions of economic impact?
So no. That's, we always knew from the beginning, not every event venue would be booked 4 days, solidly booked. When you look at what is being booked, there has been a lot of activity in the last couple of weeks. I think that the job of politics is last minute. a lot of times, and I think that as you get closer, you will see some. I think there's huge opportunities for businesses that aren't booked to still make money during the convention. There's going to be people here who are eating and drinking. I was told specifically this is the highest number of journalistic credentials that have ever been given out for a convention, and I assume that's because they're really interested in seeing what's going to happen with the candidate. But, I think that when you look at it, just the increase, so $200 million has been thrown out since 2008. And in 2016, it was different. There wasn't as much inflation. I mean, our hotel room rates alone are double what they were in Cleveland. So we're going to have no problem meeting this economic impact number. And I think the bigger story is what happens afterwards and capitalizing on all the things that people talk about so that we can make sure that we don't lose this momentum and we continue to bring groups in and showcase that we can handle a group of this size.
So as far as the security zone, there's the hard zone where you have to have Secret Service clearance to get in, and then there's the outer zone. I mean, some businesses inside that zone are going to do really well, and again, sort of to Susan's point, I'm hearing from businesses in the downtown area that are they're concerned that they're going to be, for one thing, you're not going to have a lot of the office workers downtown in spite of the best efforts of the downtown bid. And the other people are just concerned about getting through security, that there's going to be all these, the 50,000 guests. I mean, how do you deal with that perception?
I mean, it's a reality. It's not just a perception. And there will be traffic inconveniences. There will be delays. There will be everything that they have to do to make sure that the people here who live here and who are attending are safe. So, we didn't get this far with the DNC, so we don't have anything to go off of. I think when you look at what's happening inside the perimeter and the number of people and the things they're doing with Convention Fest to make sure that people are down there, that there will be enough people that I'm hoping the businesses will see business from that. But again, there will be delays. This is a security event. We need to make sure people are safe. So we need to make sure that if that happens, that we're okay and we move forward with patience.
And what's your understanding of Convention Fest? Because I thought when Reince Priebus first was talking about it, it was going to be more of a public event, Convention Fest, which would indicate it would be at least outside of that hard zone. Now it looks like it's inside the hard zone, and it's just for the guests who have those security credentials.
It is, and it's a security event, and I think what they found was that with the way things are in the world now is different than 2016, and they want to make sure that they keep people safe. So it was hard to do it outside with the amount of people that they were bringing in to keep areas safe. So I think although they wanted it to be a public event, this is safer for everyone involved.
The host committee originally wanted 6,000 volunteers to help make sure that this event is as smooth as possible. They've settled on 4,000. Did the host committee or committee on arrangements reach out to Visit Milwaukee to help get some more volunteers? And if so, what was the discussion?
Sure, they did outreach throughout the community and throughout the state. They were going to state conventions for GOP. We took it upon ourselves to make sure that we were putting the message out in our insights on a weekly basis. They know what they need in terms of shifts, so they always start higher, and then as they narrow it down, depending on the number of hotels they're using, depending on all of that, they're able to narrow it down. They know that they have it covered. We know that our team, and we also talk to business people throughout the community, so Northwestern Mutual, Baird, all of those organizations gave their employees permission to help to volunteer as well. We really see this as a community event, and the community really stepped up in order to make this happen. Our team is volunteering throughout the city to make sure that we're the experts. We know where to send people. We know everything there is to know. We're also going to be in those spaces as well.
You had mentioned what's really important too is what happens after the RNC, like how the city is able to capitalize it. And with Kim Kardashian in town over the weekend, first of all, I'm curious, did you know she was coming to town? And then what else does Visit Milwaukee have on tap? I mean, can you share specifics of what is coming as a result of the fact that we got the RNC?
Oh, sure.
That would not have come perhaps otherwise?
Well, some of the calls we've gotten for some of these larger groups, there's one that we will make an announcement very soon in August of an event that would have never considered Milwaukee without the expansion and knowing that we were hosting the RNC. And that group has never been in Milwaukee before. And we're going to be really excited because we're going to make it an announcement on a national stage. But it's groups like that that are just incredibly excited to be able to see what Milwaukee has to offer. No, we did not have anything to do with Kim Kardashian be here. I'd like to take, I can't take credit for the 2021 championship either. I think that it didn't sound right in the intro. My husband often says that I got into Visit Milwaukee at a great time because of all of the awesome things that were happening in the city, and that really my job is pretty easy. I said, oh yeah, you forget about the little thing called COVID that I had to deal with at the beginning of the job as well. But no, but our job is to tell those things. And that we had all of these people in our city just out and about is pretty cool. I mean, SZA's got, I don't know how many stops she has on her current tour, but that Kim Kardashian chose to come to Milwaukee, I think that makes us pretty cool. And with her daughter.
Okay, so you said an announcement could be coming in August of a big event that never would have happened without the RNC. Obviously, you don't want to announce it today.
I cannot. They will. Okay. They would then pull it.
But can you give us a sense as to the size and scope? You talk about making the announcement on a national stage. What can you tell us about?
You know, groups that had 5,000 people peak were very hard for people to understand that Milwaukee could host. And now they're seeing that we can. They see the beautiful expansion. They see that we have 300,000 square feet of contiguous exhibit space, which is something we didn't have. Before the expansion, we were ranked 20th out of 21 of our peer competitive set cities. We're now 10th. That's moved us up to where we should have been this entire time. So all of these things coming together at the exact same time are creating that perfect storm that allow us. And then also, we've added additional marketing dollars. I am fortunate to have an incredible board of directors that know that you need to spend money to make money. So we have been able to spend money in different ways on marketing initiatives through our 60 sales missions and trade shows each and every year to highlight everything that's happening here. For example, we were at IPW and we've never had a trade show presence on our own before. It's a huge international conference that sells to group tour meeting planners and international press. So Claire was there with our team, Megan Husband from our team, and we brought the Antetokounmpo Bros store. I got it right. Did you hear that? I said it right. When I'm not thinking about it, we brought them with us to highlight that there's 2 stores in the whole world, and one of them is here in Milwaukee. We went in January to PCMA, which is another one of our trade shows, industry trade shows, where you're talking to 5,000 meeting planners all over the country. And we brought Honeybee Sage and Wellness from Bronzeville because she has a focus on sober or, zero proof cocktails, which was part of the theme for that convention. So we're bringing people from the city, from all over the city, not just the traditional tourism zone, with us to showcase all that Milwaukee has to offer.
Do you have any concerns about the availability of employees and staff during the convention where a lot of facilities need to staff up, not just Fiserv Forum and Wisconsin Center, but the hotels, event spaces with the labor shortage, and then also getting those employees in and out of the security zone? How's that going to happen?
I think there are questions about how we're going to get the employees in and out of the security zone. We have not been briefed on that at this point. I'm sure they will make an announcement when they're ready to talk about how they're going to try and do that in a way that is easy for the employees to get in and out. I actually haven't heard personally, I don't know if others have, but I haven't heard about anyone who said, I'm struggling to be able to find help to be able to service the guests. A year and a half ago, I heard it all the time. I mean, I think you just heard Summerfest hired 2,400 people for the summer to handle all of the events they're doing. So I think there's people out there who are willing to work the event.
And when you're talking about You're referring to who as far as getting the employees in and out of the Secret Service?
Secret Service and police, absolutely, because they're the ones who are going to be in charge. You don't want me in charge of anything like that.
Looking forward, next year, Green Bay gets the NFL draft.
Yes.
And obviously, that's going to be a big event for that part of the state. Do you see any ripple effects or spillover from having that event in Green Bay? How's that going to impact Milwaukee?
Absolutely. We've been having meetings for the last 6 months or so. We were very involved with Brad Toll and the Packers and their team on bringing the draft. Obviously, they needed letters because they need our support from an airport perspective, transportation perspective. They have specific DI and inclusion goals that they need to meet, and Milwaukee will be able to help with some of those things as well. We know that we have a huge opportunity, just like we did with Ryder Cup. So if anyone remembers in September of 2021, when we hosted the Ryder Cup, we were coming out of the pandemic, and our rate and our occupancy was like this, and we were just slowly starting to increase, and it spiked in September of we've not hit that high of a rate, hopefully until RNC this coming year, just because of the amount of business. And that's an hour away. So we're doing some things. We're going to partner with some people to try to make sure that we can host some things here so we get some of that overnight business before they drive up to the draft and then come back here. Green Bay only has 4,000 rooms. Most of those are going to be taken by NFL officials as well as, sponsors. So we think that we'll see some of that business.
I wanted to follow up on Rich's question about staffing and hiring. You said you hadn't heard that there were any issues in getting the people necessary. I know during the Bucks playoff run, at some point they had to bring some staff in from or hire people from like the Chicago area. Are you seeing anything like that now in terms of trying to widen the pool of potential employees? Are you hearing that from anybody?
I haven't specifically heard that, but I'm sure that's the case. We have a lot of different venues that use nationwide organizations for their catering, and I'm positive that some of that is happening, throughout the city. I just haven't specifically been told.
And what is your concern level right now? There's been the back and forth with the protesters and their protest zones and where they want, where they can be, where they are, that type of thing. What is your level of concern with the potential that could get kind of heated and could cause problems, or is that not something in your purview?
It's not in my purview. I do completely put the trust in the people who are here on a daily basis, Secret Service, MPD, the Sheriff's Department, the Fire Department, all of those people who are working incredibly hard every day to make sure that the people here are safe. But as we all know, it doesn't need the RNC for protests to occur. So, it's beyond the scope of my control of what's going to happen, but I have the trust in the people who are running it that we will be safe.
Going back to what you said about you've got a major event that you're going to announce is coming to Milwaukee later this summer. You're going to announce that. Are there some that already have been announced that you would point to in recent months?
Yeah. So we're hosting in December of 2026, we're hosting Expo. That wouldn't have happened without the expansion. They only go to cities that have 300,000 square feet of exhibit space. We're hosting Teams in 2027, which is another industry conference. We recently talked about the fact that we're hosting the VFW. We haven't hosted them since 2000. That was booked because of the original building of the Wisconsin Center, then Wisconsin Center, now Baird Center. We're working really hard with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, which we haven't hosted in 2 decades. We're working with just a myriad of large groups that would not have been able to be here without those. We're hosting USA Fencing next summer, which is a large group that's using the entire convention center that could not have looked at us before the expansion. That's off the top of my head.
I'll give you a second. What's the biggest challenge that Visit Milwaukee faces?
I think when you look at our existing hotel package, there is an opportunity for us in the future to have another convention hotel. That is something, we're missing Marriott. Marriott is the second largest brand in the world. They have the largest reservation system and the largest national sales force. And although we have a lot of Marriott product, it's not one big Marriott hotel, so we miss out on some of those groups that may choose to go through a national sales office. So I think that's one of the things that we look towards in the future, is making sure that we're economically viable enough with the occupancy where it needs to be. We continue to recover. I just looked at our numbers from April and May. Q1 was down in terms of overall occupancy, not revenue, because we did have a big supply increase in the county, not in the city of Milwaukee. So when you look through May, every statistical category is up through May now. So we're up in occupancy, we're up in rate, we're up in RevPAR, which is revenue per available room, for those of you who don't understand the hotel business, or that's how we measure hotel success. Supply is up, but demand is outpacing supply at this point, which is what you want in order to attract economic development in the tourism space. And that's really what we are, right? We are we believe in economic development based on tourism. We want people to come here because they know we're bringing people in. That just makes everything better for the residents who live here. The more people we can bring in to go to shows at the Pabst across the way, or the Riverside, or the Symphony Center, or come to Summerfest, we know that helps the entire community. Leslie, our VP of Sales, was on a plane yesterday on her way to Detroit, where she's going to EduCon, which is Meeting Planners International, and she's like, Peggy, the amount of people at this airport with Summerfest gear on, Kenny Chesney concert gear, all at the airport. So we know, and we're going to do something with one of our research companies to just quantify what that means. And I won't get the results from this week until Friday to see what the rate and the occupancy was. But we know that this was one of the busiest music days of our entire history on Saturday. And that is going to just showcase what we have to offer and how much further we have to go too.
So it sounds like hotel space is essentially a big issue, or the lack of hotel rooms available.
So it's not the lack of hotel rooms right now. It's the lack of hotel rooms in conjunction with the convention center that are within a walkable distance. So when you look at the reports that we look at, it's not about the fact right now we have the occupancy, but we need hotels that are closer, that we need bigger hotels that are closer. So when we're dealing with meeting planners, imagine yourself trying to sign 7 contracts to be in the convention center, when in some cities you only have to sign 2. And then you have to negotiate terms separately because every hotel is owned by someone else. So there's all of these things. We know that eventually we'd like to have a tighter hotel package that's better for the meeting planners, which will then create compression, which will then push everything out and make everyone's rates increase and more occupancy.
So is there a lack of development on the developer side? There's no one coming in to develop some land that's available, or is there issues with the city, the county?
No, there's no issues right now. We're not ready at this point. We're still recovering from COVID. When I say that we're not, we don't, right at this point right now, we still have space. Our team works incredibly hard with the team over at the Wisconsin Center District. Even though it is multiple hotels, we don't use that as an excuse. We know that we can accommodate the groups. What I'm saying is that eventually we will need to do this. I'm sure Marty's not done growing the convention center. We're not done growing the business that comes into the city. So we need to be thinking forward. People used to ask me, what comes first, a convention hotel or the convention center? Well, we obviously said the chicken comes first. The convention center is built. Now we need to make sure that we're preparing for the future with more hotel rooms so that we can continue to grow the tourism business.
Well, I was just going to say, when you said we're not ready yet, when do you think we'll be ready? And where do you see a potential Marriott of the size and scope that you're talking about? I mean, it just reminded me of the conversation of the NBA All-Star game and wanting, a 5-star hotel. And then...
Yeah, well, the NBA hasn't I mean, there's very few cities with 3 5-star hotels anywhere in the country. So let's be realistic about that. There's spaces. Who knows what's going to happen years from now? There's not been a convention center hotel built in the United States without a subsidy in over 20 years. So there is certainly, we need to look at all of the possibilities, and that means it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen 2 years from now. We need to be working towards that. We need to be forward thinking. And I think in the past, we were reactionary. There's a team of us who work together on a regular basis. Marty and I meet every single Friday. We know what needs to happen in the future. So we're working towards that so we can make sure we're ready when the future gets here.
While we go to questions from the audience here, if you got questions, Joette's got the microphone.
First of all, treasurer of the Milwaukee Press Club, and I want to thank you and the Marcus Corp for helping build this place bigger and stronger than ever before. But as a Milwaukeean, I feel like we've never had a cheerleader like you before. We've all shared this inferiority complex. Oh, we can't be that good. How do we build a team of cheerleaders around you so we can do this job even better?
We are doing that. I'm seeing it all the time. I will tell you, I'm in meetings with John Schlifsky, and he's very involved in the host committee for the RNC. And when he gave his impassioned plea for the RNC to move here 2 years ago in his ballroom at the top of the Northwestern Mutual, he talked about how wonderful this city is. Marty's entire team is out there talking about how wonderful this city is. So there are, all of you, when Claire started the communications committee, we found more cheerleaders than we ever thought we had, and they are more vocal. If you go on X, and I get it, I do see the negative comments too, and Claire tells me to sit on my hands, think about it for 24 hours before I post anything, and I think one time I did, and she made me take it down, but... there are an incredible, you look at Nate Baumhoff, who is taking amazing pictures of our skyline. I just saw him this morning with his drone going overhead, and that it's picked up by everyone. Our mayor and our county exec and our entire common council. This is the first time I've seen this type of collaboration ever in our city, which makes me so proud to be able to be here and to be able to share those stories. So I think there's more cheerleaders than there are detractors, and they are talking just in different ways.
Hi, Peggy. Thanks for the great presentation. You mentioned that the hotel room rates are double what they were in Cleveland. Can you give an idea of what those room rates are and what the occupancy rates are? Are all the hotels going to be full for the RNC?
I'm assuming. I haven't. So, once we helped with the MOUs for the original contracting process, we stay out of it. Obviously, there's rules against sharing of hotel rates, and I don't want to be in that. But I know when we were originally talking, a lot of the rates were double what they were then. But it'll all pan out the Friday following the convention, so we can all look at my insights and see what that rate was that week and what the occupancy was that week. And let's remember, when you look back in 2019, which was the busiest year for tourism ever until 2022 and then now 2023, like I said, occupancy hasn't gotten back to where it was. So I know that this week is going to be amazing for the city. We have not sold out 4 consecutive or 5 consecutive days since 2019. You can go back. During the Ryder Cup, I think it was 3 days, and it was still at 70% occupancy because we weren't right there. So if we can get north of 98% with, a really good rate, I'll be very, very pleased.
Anybody else?
You used a great word there, Peggy, with narrative, and we had Police Chief Norman here recently and talked about changing the narrative in Milwaukee around police-centered issues. Could you give us 2 examples you could use in terms of changing the narrative about Milwaukee?
Well, and I'm very happy to have representatives from our MPA here and everything that they do in the city. And, when you think about some of the things we talk about and some of the things that make news here in the city, and we're constantly inundated with all of the all of the bad, right? You look at all of the bad, and like I said, my job is to look at it and showcase what we can say that makes people want to come here, want to come and visit, and then hopefully it helps with tax dollars that can offer some of those services that may make changes, real changes in the city. So I think that that is the concentration that I look at everything with, and then making sure, again, narrative through positive stories is the only way to move forward, in my mind, in my opinion.
Or is always specific. Things you can tell, we've done this, we've done that. That Joe, he's on visitor, he's on fucking the dumps out.
Oh, you know, I don't like to, I mean, for me, it's bragging about, but Top Chef, I mean, look at Top Chef, what Top Chef has done for the city, and actually the debate too. So those are the two that I would say that have been, and the Bucks championship. Let me go back to the Bucks championship first. In the summer of 2021, I was at a convention in Baltimore, and we were just coming out of COVID. We all still were wearing masks. We go into this party, and we go upstairs, and it's just packed with people. Don't tell anyone that. But on the TV was the playoff game. And my peers, and I was new. This was like my first convention that I was able to go to as the CEO of the organization. And I'm watching what's happening on TV, and people are like, where is that? And I'm like, that's my city. It was the most diverse, the most beautiful. I mean, you just saw people from every walk of life, 60,000 people in the Deer District. The Deer District was brand new, and it was amazing. And then I would go to Top Chef. Top Chef has been a game changer for us. The way that they've highlighted the city, the way they've shown the diversity that we have through our food, through our, the diversity of culture we have here was just amazing. And I see the opposite side, right? I've seen some people saying, oh, it didn't highlight enough. Well, I'm going to tell you, we showed them everything there was, and they can only do so much in 10 episodes, but they were able to see it, and the hosts have been talking about it since then. So I think those are two huge examples of how we've been able to change the narrative.
Thank you for being here. So once again, I'd like to thank our event sponsors and the Newsroom Pub and Safe House and Marcus Corp for having us today. If you'd like to become a member of the Press Club, Joette Richards, our executive director, is right here, and Joette can hook you up with a membership for the Press Club. Upcoming events, quickly here. Tuesday, July 9th, this is a joint event that we're doing with the Rotary Club, and it's focusing on election integrity. And it's going to be moderated by Patrick Marley of the Washington Post, formerly of the JS. And it's going to be, the panels has Kathy Bernier, the Wisconsin State Director of Keep Our Republic, Paula Gutierrez, the new Executive Director of the Milwaukee Election Commission, and Megan Wolf, Administrator of the Wisconsin Election Commission. On Tuesday, July 16th, we're doing a joint program with WisPolitics at the Marquette Law School. Purple, Wisconsin. Once again, we are a swing state. And it's a panel that's going to be moderated by the New York Times opinion editor, Katie Kingsbury. Finally, July 31st, we're doing an unusual event here at from 5 to 7. It's a book event with Peter Jest, the owner of Shank Hall, who's published a new book about his adventures in the concert promotion business. So once again, you're welcome to attend any of those events. But finally, thank you to the media panel, Susan, Rich, and Ricardo. And thank you all for being here.